October 14th, 1943. 27,000 feet above Schweinfurt, Germany. The sky was chaos. Hundreds of silver bombers, B-17 flying fortresses, clawed through flak and fire, their formations torn apart by over 300 Luftwaffe fighters. Below, engines burned, men screamed, and above them, Captain Don Blakesley, commanding the U.S. 4th Fighter Group, checked his fuel gauge. 20 minutes left. 20 minutes of fuel to protect bombers that still had 3 hours to fly home. He radioed headquarters with words that would echo through the halls of the Air Force. "And we need a fighter that can go all the way to Berlin and back. Until we get one, we're sending these bomber boys to die." What Blakesley didn't know was that such a fighter already existed, ignored, rejected, and collecting dust in a hangar in Ohio. And the man who would save it wasn't a general or a pilot, but a mechanic who broke every rule in the book. 2 years earlier, in 1941, Britain was fighting for its life. The Spitfire was brilliant, but too few. The Hurricane was outdated. Desperate, the British asked American industry for help. They approached North American Aviation to build the P-40 Warhawk under license. But company president James Dutch Kindleberger said something audacious. Give us 120 days. We'll build you a better fighter from scratch." It sounded impossible. But 117 days later, on October 26, 1940, the prototype rolled out. The NA-73, soon named the Mustang. It was sleek, fast, and unlike anything in the sky, featuring a revolutionary laminar flow wing that sliced through the air and a cooling system that actually produced thrust instead of drag. It could hit 380 Pantoffer and fly farther than any single-engine fighter alive. There was just one problem: the engine. The American-built Allison V-1710 was fine below 15,000 feet, but above that, it suffocated. Air combat in Europe happened at 25,000 feet and higher. The Allison couldn't breathe there. At altitude, the Mustang slowed to a crawl. German Messerschmitts dove, fired, and vanished into the clouds, untouchable. By 1942, the Mustang had been written off, a failed experiment. It was relegated to reconnaissance and ground attack, forgotten, dismissed, and nearly cancelled. But then, one man took it upon himself to defy orders. April 30th, 1943. Ronald Harker, a Rolls-Royce test pilot and engineer, visited an RAF squadron flying Mustangs. He wasn't there to test anything, but when offered a quick flight, he took the seat anyway. As he soared above the English countryside, he felt it instantly. The Mustang's airframe was magnificent. It handled like silk. Everything was perfect, except that wheezing Allison engine. And that's when it hit him. What if we gave this plane a heart transplant? Harker knew the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, the same power plant that made the Spitfire legendary. It had a 2-stage supercharger, capable of maintaining full power at 30,000 feet. When he landed, he didn't ask for permission. He simply wrote a report. Install the Merlin engine in the Mustang. The result will outperform any fighter in service. It was unauthorized, illegal, and the best decision he ever made. Air Vice Marshal Sir Wilfrid Freeman read the report and broke his own rules too. Rolls-Royce quietly pulled a Mustang into their hangar, ripped out the Allison, and bolted in a Merlin. On October 13th, 1943, the new aircraft took off, the Mustang MKX. At 25,000 feet, it hit 430-meter Moppy, 70 miles faster than before. It could climb like a Spitfire and fly 3 times farther. Harker's test log summed it up simply. The Merlin Mustang is the finest fighter aircraft I have ever flown. When the test data reached Washington, disbelief turned to urgency. General Henry Hap Arnold ordered North American Aviation to convert 2 Mustangs immediately using Packard-built Merlins, the American version of the engine. By November 1943, test pilot Robert Chilton flew the first American-built Merlin Mustang. The results were undeniable. Faster than the P-47 Thunderbolt, higher climbing than the P-38 Lightning, double the range of both. Finally, a fighter that could escort bombers all the way to Berlin and back. Production began at once. The P-51B and P-51C rolled off assembly lines by the hundreds. By early 1944, they were over Europe, slicing through the sky, hunting German fighters that once slaughtered unprotected bombers. On their first combat missions, Mustang pilots radioed home in disbelief. These things can outrun, outclimb, and outfight anything up here. From that moment on, the daylight raids that once cost thousands of lives now had a guardian. A sleek silver aircraft with the roar of a Merlin, the P-51 Mustang turned the tide of the air war. It escorted bombers deep into enemy territory, crippled the Luftwaffe, and paved the way for the Allied invasion of Europe. And it all began, not in a boardroom or a lab, but with one man who broke the rules. Because he knew he was right. Sometimes the difference between defeat and victory is one person willing to say, "What if we tried it this way?" If you enjoyed this story of innovation, courage, and rebellion in wartime, hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more untold stories that changed the course of history.